Belonging First, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Essentials course for the mining industry. What is belonging and why does it matter? Presented by Andrea Carter in support of Women in Mining Canada's initiative to educate, elevate, and empower. Hello and welcome. My name is Andrea Carter. I'm a TEDx and Empire Club of Canada speaker, a Master of Industrial and Organizational Psychology candidate with a concentration in human resource management and a specialization in social justice. I've been working in the field of learning and development and have been educating organizations on behavioral neuroscience-based equity, diversity, and inclusion as my primary focus. In this video, you will gain understanding of what belonging is and why belonging is essential for the mining industry to grow and recover. This video series complements the white paper, Unrealized Growth in Mining, Upgrading the Future to Include Human Capital and Belonging. Before we dive into what belonging is, I hope you'll allow me to provide you with some additional context. Corporate social justice has progressed significantly over the past 10 years, to the point that organizational justice research has highlighted that the perception of justice for work behavior and motivation in Western societies has become increasingly significant to employee retention and human capital. Blader et al., 2017. Many mining companies understand the need for attention to CSR valuations, yet so many are struggling with the social component. And that really is what these videos are here to provide, a baseline for terminology, use of language, understanding, and key indicators so that you can get started right away. Why don't we begin? We're now at a historic interchange, and as racism and prejudice mount in our social environment in Canada, the need for defined corporate social responsibility amplifies. Equity, diversity, and inclusion are becoming as interconnected with organizational development and the talent pipeline as financial statements are with the business strategy, and it will continue to become growing pressure as collective outrage ensues. For this reason, belonging creates a new context for approaching the social element of corporate social responsibility and actually helps diverse talent feel valued and accepted for their differences. Belonging is the process of gaining access and full participation of a particular group while upholding one's autonomy and individual differences. So let's break that down into a more simple context. Belonging is an essential human need that drives human behavior. It predominantly revolves around gaining access and having full participation so that a person has a foundation for social identity. For talent to experience belonging, they need to feel a triggered neurological response that actually occurs in the brain. When this response is felt, a cognitive, emotional, and evaluative association to the workplace and the people within the organization forms. When diverse talent is not invited to learn, participate, connect, and grow, belonging and the foundation for social identity, the organization cannot be formed. What's interesting about belonging is that when it's felt, Pickett et al., 2002, show that individuals will not only perform better, their engagement and loyalty increases, which impacts the entire culture. So think of belonging as a maximizing effect that delivers return on investment for equity, diversity, and inclusion. But belonging is more than a binary classification of I belong or I do not belong. Social and cultural learning processes affect belonging within the workplace and the organizational experience and how organizations have socialized their employees to interact with differences. And so that's where the complicating and complex factor must be reimagined and redefined, because for many organizations, they haven't considered how the identities of other people intersect with how one feels they belong within an organization. So these are the 5 key indicators that help substantiate the importance of belonging. And they are comfort, connection, contribution, psychological safety, and well-being. And before we jump on the diversity audits and the diversity talent pipeline, understanding these key indicators will help support how you develop your onboarding, your development and performance pipeline, and the strategy behind bringing your equity, diversity, and inclusion initiatives together along with your vision and mission for your business strategy. So keep in mind that the biggest challenge leaders face today is how well they build the next generation of workers and leadership because of the tight labor market, lack of equity, diversity, and inclusion training and development, and the aging population. These are concepts that will be further developed and explained in the release of my upcoming thesis. However, I encourage you to consider how these 5 key indicators are affecting your current state of engagement, performance, and turnover. So let me share with you that psychological safety occurs when a person feels they can bring their authentic self to work and be recognized for personal identities, regardless of differences. Without psychological safety, comfort, connection, contribution, and well-being are often impacted. So start by considering how your organizational mission and vision statements help align cultural values for belonging. How comfortable do your employees feel in sharing their perspectives and viewpoints? When they are shared, are they valued for their contribution? Is there a level of connection to the vision and mission of the organization? And do your employees feel the connection is strong enough to experience membership? Sometimes this is easier to explore through the opposite of belonging, which has also been linked to turnover, detachment, and low performance metrics. Keep in mind that all human beings adapt to their environment with a primary focus to ensure that they are not socially excluded, rejected, or ostracized. However, when they are not given the opportunity to belong from the onset, this leads to negative behaviors that occur from exclusion, rejection, and being undervalued. So from this standpoint, you might ask, who in the organization has been excluded or rejected, and why? What are the historical, social, economic, and political realities that are affecting certain people in the organization? What toll have these factors had on their physical and mental health? And how could that be affecting their cognitive capabilities and performance? I've created a survey to measure these key indicators as they intersect with aspects of the talent pipeline, such as diversity, career level, years in the industry, and how salient identities affect belonging. And I'll share some of these elements with you in the 3rd video of our series. Belonging relates to gaining acceptance and avoiding rejection or exclusion by being included in the membership of interpersonal events and one's environment. This sentiment is crucial for growth and recovery. The mining industry has transitioned considerably in the past 10 years, and in the next 10 years, it is expected that disclosure for CSR will grow substantially to provide confidence and trust for stakeholders. So what you want to start considering is that the Canadian topography has changed since the pandemic hit. Talent has changed since the pandemic hit. So in a survey of 2,000 employees, almost half, 43%, said they're looking for a new job, and that corporate culture was actually the main reason. When further probed about the corporate culture, participants indicated that the lack of corporate equity and fairness accounted for more than 3/4 of their reasoning. Studies show that empathy and a belonging culture are directly correlated, John 2020. So as you begin your strategy for corporate social justice, and you start to look at some of these key indicators, think back to the fact that 92% of employees said they would likely stay with their job if their bosses were more empathetic. And the reason I encourage you to think about that is because when you focus in on the social component and the opportunity that a belonging first culture provides, you may want to also become a leader that is known for fairness and making talent feel that they do belong. What your areas of strength are, what your areas of opportunity are, really connect with how you encourage belonging. I would also encourage that you assess your weaknesses and threats. As a consultant, I will share that many senior leaders in the industry have the understanding of why equity diversity is so important. Yet the weakness and threat comes down to the lack of collective intentionality. And I'll share what that means in more depth in the next video, along with diversity blindness. I do highly encourage you to take time to self-reflect. Consider how you were socialized in the world and workplace. Do those behaviors and beliefs still work in our new world and new context? How might those be hindering you? What were you taught about membership, for example? Discovering meaning so that you gain context for social issues, such as systemic oppression and racism, will support you in bridging the gap from inclusion and diversity initiatives that fail to advance and belonging first cultures that will deliver a return. If you'll join me in our next video, Why Belonging is Essential for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, I'll share some interesting behavioral neuroscience concepts that help explain how to achieve growth and success with talent. See you there.